All right, Club World Cup 2025. Julian, dude, listen, it's a waste of time. That's what apparently a bunch of people are saying, Euro snobs out there. Obviously, you and I, we disagree. I don't know. Listen, man, 2025, how are you feeling? Saw the draw today. I know we have some reactions. What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
Dude, I am excited. Obviously, there's a lot of contention from people from mostly, let's say, Euro snobs and people who don't want, like, oh, like, look, let's be real. At the end of the day, realistically, it's probably going to be a European team that wins it, the team with the most money, the most talent and stuff. But I think this is really good for the sport. I think for a while now, everybody's kind of known that the gap between Europe and the rest of the world is really getting far and farther apart. I mean, you used to have the likes of Brazil being like one of the best leagues in the world. It still is, but like Brazil was probably at one point a top three league, but now it's like things have changing. Obviously, the fluctuation of money is getting different and making the way the game is being played in certain areas change. So I think this is a great way. Obviously, if people want to say it's a money grab and all this stuff, like it's another tournament for FIFA to have, which yeah, sure, it is, of course. And I do think there's a real concern about, player rest because it is getting to a point where it feels like every summer there's some sort of event, whether it be the Euros, the Copa, the now this Club World Cup, the World Cup itself. It seems like there's only now pretty much 1 year where there's a real gap. So that's a real concern. But as from the sporting aspect and as from a fan, it just going through the draw today was super awesome to be able to see like these groups develop, like seeing a Botafogo get into the same group as like Atleti or like Al Hilal versus Real Madrid. Like it's pretty awesome to see, and it's pretty cool that now we're getting to this point where, all right, we're starting to incorporate these different teams. Now, I do think maybe the qualifications for certain things are a little could be possibly better. Maybe you do some sort of like qualification instead of like the continental champion that was like from 3-4 years ago. Maybe you can tweak that and make it better. Who knows in the next iteration? But I tell you what, I'm excited to see this as somebody who is a fan of football from all different parts. I love the fact that we can now see like these teams who we don't really see every day play against the Giants and get really tested. And I think it has the opportunity to be the second biggest soccer event, only behind the regular World Cup. I do think it has that potential. Not now, not this iteration, and probably not the next one, and maybe even the one after that. But I do think 50 years down the road, 40 years down the road, this could be the next, like only behind the World Cup as the second biggest one and be the new champions. But that's kind of how I felt about it. Well, I mean, I know you're pumped about it. We were all talking in our group chat, really excited about everything that's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Like Julian said, we were going back and forth. Obviously, you guys drop down in the comments, subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Let us know how you feel. I kind of agree with you, Julian. I think for me personally, I feel like FIFA, I don't want to say this is just another tournament. As a fan, you love it. I think you're crazy about this. As a player, you absolutely hate your life. You just listen. I think, dude, it's a lot on these guys, man. This is to not only, for obviously, let's just take the likes of, an example right now, Vinicius, right? Plays for Real Madrid. He's going to have the Club World Cup next year. And then on top of that, you're as well going to have him get ready for Brazil for World Cup qualifiers. Then the year after that, get ready to go back to the World Cup in 2026, which will obviously be hosted here in the United States. But I just think it's a lot on these guys. I think it's a lot on their legs. Obviously, like I said, stating it again, as a fan, I think you love it. I think you're all about it. As a player, it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I think the biggest thing, honestly, that the thing I take away from it is really going to be just that level of competitiveness. I know Julian and I, we've talked a lot about it. Let us know what you guys think as well. Listen, for me, I just think the level, maybe this year right now, is not going to be the most competitive. I don't think it's going to be the highest. I think some teams will go for it all. I could really see the likes of like a Bayern Munich or a Juventus or an Inter Milan trying to win this tournament. But I could very easily see other teams like a Real Madrid and them kind of bringing some summer signings, you know what I mean? And kind of just trying to test the waters out, kind of just trying to figure it out a little bit. It's going to be interesting. I will say, though, I think FIFA is trying to make this, like you kind of said, Julian, I think they're trying to make it the biggest tournament behind the actual World Cup, which in all reality, listen, dude, me personally, I don't think it ever will be. Copa America, Euros. Listen, dude, I get more hype. Next summer, we have the Gold Cup. And obviously, as a Panamanian fan, I'm a little bit more biased. There's no Panamanians playing in the FIFA Club World Cup, but I get more hype for that. Honestly, in all reality, I would rather get more hype
something
for the
about
Gold
the
Cup.
national team. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just something. I think FIFA's trying to kind of implement this system of where it's, you're more passionate for your club or whatever it is, which I think it's great. And I'm not against it. I agree with you. I'm not against the tournament. We need to cancel it, boycott it, nothing like that. But I just think it's going to lack a little bit of emotional standpoint. Maybe not. I don't know. Some games, listen, dude, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. River Plate, Monterrey. I know there's a little bit of history in that game. So, we'll look at more of these games and whatnot, and we'll see next summer. But no, I'm with you. Overall, I'm excited for it. So,
yeah, the one thing I am curious to see how things play out as time goes on is because I know the whole idea that they don't have TV rights yet, and like how that's going to work with the TV rights, how exactly this event is going to be marketed. What are the price? Like, what is the attendance going to be like, especially with like in the United States, where obviously the big teams are going to sell out, but are these smaller games going to work? Obviously, I think that's more so a United States issue, but in general, I think the first one, I don't know how well it's going to perform like commercially and business wise. I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. I do think at the end of the day, it's going to be big. And look, I mean, I know even me and you were talking about it. Like, even though you might not have your club in this specific tournament, you do want to feel represented by the teams that are representing your confederation, because it is like, if I don't know, sometimes rivalries run deep. So no matter what, you don't want to see this team play well. But like, there is a little bit more satisfaction, like say if you're from South America and to see like, I don't know, let's say Botafogo takes down PSG. You're like, oh yeah, okay. It's kind of a little bit of that validation that like, okay, yeah, our league is there. And the same thing goes for like CONCACAF and same thing for like CONCACAF in our sense. Like, look, am I a Monterrey fan? No, but like, I would like to see Monterrey give Inter a fight, because it kind of gives a little bit more of a validation to your confederation. Like, all right, we're a little bit more serious. Like, you're not going to get absolutely ran through or whatever. But anyways, let's go through these groups. Let's actually react to the groups that we saw, and we give our thoughts and opinions on each one. So we're going to start it off with Group A, where we have Palmeiras, FC Porto, Al Ali, and Inter Miami. Almost the Inter Miami. So give me your thoughts on this group. What do you like?
You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say, dude. They got to do it for FIFA boy, man. Come on. Nah, I'm playing. Dude, no, listen. Honestly, I think the scandal just continues, dude. I love him. Obviously, he's the GOAT. He's not just the GOAT of football or soccer or wherever you call it in the world. He's the GOAT of all sports, Lionel Messi. Dude, it just seems so made for him, though, in a way. Listen, I don't want to say this is a weak group. I don't think it's off the bat. Obviously, Palmeiras with the Richard Lurios, the Colombian, Estaviao, a couple other guys. They got a bunch of good names on their team. Obviously, FC Porto, Estaquiao, and Alan Barella, and the names go on. Al Halil, or not Al Halil, Al Halil, if I'm pronounced.
Al Ali. Gosh, we're gonna butcher this, dude. We're gonna get people in the comments just getting after us.
I was gonna say, y'all in the comments, let us know how to properly pronounce them. I'm all for it. I want to hear you guys out. But the Egyptian team, one of the best teams in Africa. This team is no joke. I know they've got a South African. I can't remember his name, but he's one of their center forward strikers. Good player. So listen, obviously Inter Miami, Diego Gomez, Busquets, and Suarez. The list goes on and on. But I think this is a very, I wouldn't say balanced group. Obviously, for the most part, you would look at it and say FC Porto, is probably the heavily favorite for it, which I think they will. I think they're going to top this group quite honestly. I just think it is, dude. I will say though, that Porto Palmeiras game, that's going to be a little interesting game. The Portuguese rivalry. It's gonna be fun. So,
well, okay. So for me, like, Al Ahly, like I saw them play against Seattle in the Club World Cup the year before last. So I saw a little bit of them play, and I thought I saw Seattle put up a good fight. Maybe should have won the game from what I remember. It's been a long time, but it wasn't a blowout. It was a close game. And that kind of gives me a little bit of like idea of what we could possibly see against them versus Miami in that sense,
Mhm.
where I think it might be a little bit of a level playing field. I kind of see Al Ali as like basically a really good MLS team. So I do think Miami and them can compete. I think it's going to be a really interesting game. Palmeiras Porto, like dude, that game's going to be awesome. I'm super pumped to see that game. I think that's really going to be like bragging rights of which league is two. Because I don't know about you, but I've always said Brazilian league is 6, Portuguese league is 7, and this might be a real gauge of like where the Brazilian league stacks up against the Portuguese league. I personally like, look, we're going to get into predictions later as we get closer. You know, teams are going to change and so on and so forth. You sell winter transfer window. Maybe players squeeze in right before the summer transfer window. I don't know how exactly that's going to work, but I kind of like Palmeiras here. I think that they might shock this group and win it, but I think it's going to be super fun. But yeah, to me, Group A is the most balanced. I'm not saying it's the best group, but it's the most balanced. And as an Inter Miami fan, I like this group personally. Like, there's not like the Goliaths that you're going up against. Like Porto, obviously a great team, a Champions League team, year in and year out, champion trophies. But it's not like you're playing Bayern Munich or Real Madrid or Inter Milan or you're not playing like top 5 league giants. And the same thing goes for Palmeiras. Like, while Palmeiras is a massive club in South America, probably one of the best clubs in all the Western Hemisphere, it's not like, oh my God, we're going to get smashed. I think they might, like, look, anything's possible, but I do think this is the most balanced. When I look at the rest, I mean, maybe you can look at Group B and maybe we could switch over to Group B now. Group B is one of those where I think it's not badly balanced. You had a PSG team, well, like in Champions League, they're struggling. Obviously, this is going to be a different animal of like teams you're playing against. Atleti's kind of like not necessarily that powerhouse they were either, but then you got Botafogo coming off of a huge Copa Libertadores one, winning the trophy. And then you have Seattle, which surprisingly made it to the Western Conference Finals in the MLS. They've kind of had a down couple years since they've won the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but I anticipate they're going to reload. They're getting healthier. They want to come into this tournament at least getting some sort of result. I think, in my opinion, you might think I'm crazy. I think Group B might be the group of death because I could see that, especially in the top 3. I could see a world where Botafogo can beat Atleti and or Paris. Quite honestly, I think out of those 3, and I could see Seattle Seattle at home. Like, you got to remember this: they're at home. Not saying that they're going to get a result, but they're going to be a tough team. I don't think they get blown out in any way. In that world, like the worst I see happening is a 3-0. I see like a 3-0 because you're also talking about a Paris team that, like, you know, and a Atleti team that can't really score. Granted, I haven't seen a ton of Botafogo. I did see them in Copa Libertadores, but I do think Group B, if you're talking about just the top 3 teams, that one's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top. This is going to be. You need the Brazilian teams to show their muscles to say, like, hey, look, we are right outside of this top 5. Like, we are number 6 because I think they are, and I'm glad, and I hope to get that validation coming into after this tournament.
And that's what I was going to say, dude. I agree. Listen, kind of with like your Group A analogy for Group B as well. I think this is kind of the group of life in a sense, in the aspect of, you know what, any one of these teams could potentially get out. Obviously, I'm not saying that Seattle is 1,000%. They're going to get through. It's going to be a walk in the park. Obviously not. You know, to be quite real with you, Julian, I don't know if they're going to win a game. You know, it's a tough pass, dude.
I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying they will.
No. Right. And that's the thing, though. Like, it's
in your stadium. Like,
but my biggest thing is, and I was kind of thinking about this a little bit. European teams are going to be ending the season out. They're going to be ending their seasons, and they're going to be rolling into that kind of like that summer transition. We always know summer is, I don't want to say the break time, vacation time for these guys, but it's basically kick back and relax type of time. You know what I mean? These guys are a little bit more chillax, especially thinking if Atletico Madrid or PSG make a run in the Champions League. I mean, they're going to be pretty tired. They're going to be worn out. So to think that Seattle is already going to be halfway through the season, they've already got the guns rolling, they've got the legs warmed up. I agree with you, dude. And Botafogo, in the sense of
Copa Libertadores,
the season's going to be rolling and whatnot.
schedule. Yeah, they have the same
Mhm.
schedule as MLS, so they're going to be mid-season form. So that's
Right.
another advantage that these Brazilian and MLS
Yeah.
teams are going to have is that mid-season form.
I will say though, if Botafogo loses Igor Jesus, that's a blow. That definitely, I mean, that's a national team player right there. That's gotten a couple past call ups. So I think that's a big guy. They're not trying to. I know, obviously, he's been big for them. Obviously, in the Copa Libertadores as well. You know, he was incredible there. But dude, no, I agree. I think this is. I honestly, obviously, the two favorites are going to be PSG and Atletico Madrid. But I think, like you said, this is kind of like that storyline. Honestly, like you said, Julian, this is literally, dude. The way I look at this, it's almost in Super Bowl football aspect it's almost kind of like the American Conference, obviously, versus the. I'm going stupid right now. What is the other? What is the other football?
Yeah, NFC, AFC, NFC, AFC.
Exactly. Thank you, Julie. Hey, this is like an
Yeah.
NFC, AFC type beat. I really feel like it. Obviously, you may not be a massive fan of the Ravens. You may not even really like Lamar Jackson, whatever. But if you're a Browns fan and the Ravens are in the Super Bowl, you're low-key rooting for the boys. You low-key want to see them pull it off. You don't give a crap who they're playing. You want to see them do well. It's the same way here, like you said, for the Western Hemisphere and all of CONMEBOL. They kind of want to see Botafogo compete. If Botafogo goes in there and they lose 4-0, 5-0 against PSG and Atletico, fraud. What is this team? What are they doing here? You know what I mean? It really is. So I think there's a lot for them to prove. And speaking about proving, Group C, Boca Junior.
This is where we disagree on.
We disagree. Listen, I'll get my take real quick. Julian, I want to hear what you got to say. I'm really intrigued. Julian told me, guys, I'll give a little context. Earlier today, Bayern Munich is going to walk in the park. I'm going to just 100%. Say this. For all my Boca Junior fans, I'm going to say it in Spanish. Déjalo comentario. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that. Me personally, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I think Boca Juniors is honestly, listen, Edison Cavani, he might be old. He might have gray hair coming out, but I think the guy can still fire at all cylinders. I think Boca Junior, dude, and like you said, this is going to be on the Western Hemisphere. So I think this game, for the most part, you're going to have a bunch of
there's going to be fans. There's going to be a bunch of Argentinians coming.
Yeah, and I think they're going to load up and they're going to load out for Boca Junior. Listen, Auckland City, great, beautiful country, New Zealand, great for you guys. Have fun in this tournament. Enjoy the States. I don't really know what else to tell you. That's all you're going to really do. Benfica, obviously, is the second heavy favorite. We got to see how they're going to compete. I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I think that Boca Junior against Di Maria and Nicolas Otamendi, that little matchup right there is going to be pretty. I think it's going to be beautiful to watch that game. But no, Julian, what do you think from Group C?
Like you kind of said, I think Bayern's just going to dog walk this entire group. I mean, we saw Bayern just like Benfica held on for their lives, like against the Champions League. Look, this is a Boca team too, where they've really struggled against Brazilian teams in the Libertadores, and Bayern Munich's a whole other beast. Like Boca has not looked the greatest in Libertadores play against Brazilian teams. And like you said, Auckland, you're just happy to be there. Look, if they get any sort of result, that is awesome. But I don't know. I don't see any team really competing. I do think the Benfica game is going to be pretty interesting to see how the Argentinian top flight stacks up with the Portuguese league. That those kind of mid-range battles between Brazil, Argentina, and Portugal, those kind of interest me a lot. But now let's go into Group D. Group D, I don't know. This one I kind of almost forgot exists. Granted, I'm not a fan of any of these. I got the Flamengo jersey on. So
you got a jersey repping one. Yeah.
But I do have that. But it seems like the one, from what I'm seeing online, it's the one people aren't talking about the most, is the Club Leon team that hasn't necessarily looked the best. Chelsea's obviously has been the laughing stock of the Prem for a while. You have the team from Tunisia, Espérance Sportive du Tunis. Hopefully I said that right. I've been actually working on my French, so
that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this might be a pretty interesting one with the Chelsea Flamengo game. Honestly, I don't see Leon doing too much in this group. I think they might get hurt pretty well. I'm curious to see how well they stack rank against this Tunisian team. That's going to be pretty interesting. But this is, for me personally, outside of the Brazil Flamengo game, that's going to be the more interesting game to me. But outside of the other ones, I don't know about you, how you feel about this one. Not a group that
Yeah,
really
dude.
excites me too much.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously, respect to all these teams. They've earned their spot there. They've done it well. But dude, Club Leon, I think, like you said, I was just looking at the table a little bit for Liga MX this past season, this temporada. Dude, Julian, they just, if I'm not wrong, they were bottom table. So they were very down low there. Club Leon, obviously,
They
I know
should have
they
never
used to
beat
have
LAFC. Like, quite honestly,
they never
to get
honestly.
in.
I mean, and granted, the thing
I
is,
would
the
rather
guys.
see LAFC in here. Like, if
I
you throw
don't
LAFC in that
disagree.
mix, that'd be really interesting.
It makes it interesting. Yeah. Listen, I think Club Leon, I think obviously they had Joel Cambo that year that they won, your boy. They had a couple other different names. None of those guys play there anymore. So it's kind of like, this Club Leon team that you're kind of, in a sense, trying to figure out. You know what I mean? I've seen a couple of times. I think I'm with you, dude. I think personally, I think they're going to get dog walk every single one of these games. I think even Esperance of Tunis, hopefully I'm saying that right. I think they're going to be able to walk them in the park. I think that second place really. I don't think second place is like, it's a Flamengo or Tunis. I think it's all three of these teams. I think Chelsea, Flamengo, and obviously Tunis, they're going to kind of battle. Obviously, like we said, listen, dude, we got to put respect on the North African teams. Obviously, we're going to get to Wiyad later, the Moroccan team, and also the teams from Asia as well. They're going to travel. Their fans are going to travel well. And listen, Julian, you and me, we're kind of like, I mean, and hell, you have one of your teams representing Inter Miami. I don't have anybody here from me, but we're still kind of like, on the down burner. I don't think their fans are going to be like that. I think they're going to show up. They're going to show out. Obviously,
they're going to come out the woodwork, bro. I'm telling
you. They listen, dude. You're going to show up to Cincinnati, and you're going to have just a crap ton of fans representing like both. You know what I mean? You're just going to be like, where did this come from? I think it's going to be awesome. I think it will be cool to see that. But yeah. I think it's kind of a deadbeat group, but I will say, though, don't sleep on Chelsea to win the whole thing. That's all I'm going to say, dude. Cole Palmer, man, he could pull something out. This team has been firing pretty well.
That's time chains.
A little bit more exciting
Group B. Now, all right, so Group B excites me a lot. This one's probably my one that I'm most excited to watch. I think Inter's going to – they win. Obviously, we're going to get into predictions, but obviously Inter's the favorite. But I love the next three. I love River versus Monterrey. I think that's like an even matchup. That's going to be fun. I have a buddy who's a River fan. He likes this group a lot for him. He's like, he feels pretty confident about coming out here. I don't know who the favorite will be. I mean, we'll see as the bookmakers in Vegas come out, if it's going to be Monterrey on top of River. We'll see, because I think it's going to be pretty even in that sense. And then you're bringing in a J League team, where the J League team's finally going to be able to like really test themselves against some of this top flight from the rest of the world outside of Asia. So I'm really curious to see them. J League is a league I respect. I think they're doing great things over there. The Red Diamonds. This group, that not so much the Inter, because I do think Inter's probably going to do pretty well, but it's the next three. Who's fighting for that second spot? This one's really, really interesting to me. And the only reason why it's not my group of death is because I think Inter is just pretty far ahead of the rest of them. Versus like when I try to look at a group of death, I try to gauge it a little closer. But yeah, quick on Group E. What do you think?
Dude, no, I agree. Listen, I think this Argentina-Mexico matchup, River Plate versus Club Monterrey.
All right, you're back now.
You guys got me now? Yeah, dude, I think honestly, this Argentina versus Mexico little rivalry, dude. I'm hyped, man. I'll give you guys a little context. Julie and I were texting. I said this is going to be the game that's going to get a little bit out of hand, dude. I could see not only fans, and that's something, dude. Also, I was kind of, now that we're talking about it, Julian, thinking, listen, dude, obviously country soccer, or football, excuse me. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of energy. But at most times at World Cup, they try to separate the fans for the most part, but you don't see anything out of the ordinary. Club soccer, not at all the same. You have to separate fans. I mean, we've seen Champions League games. We've seen Conference League. Even, dude, obviously Copa Libertadores, you can't have these fans sitting anywhere close to each other. So I just think, honestly, if you get
that atmosphere is going to be wild.
That atmosphere is going to, and I'm telling you, dude, and even the Red Diamonds, listen, dude, Julie and I were joking around, dude, listen, for our viewers, if you guys don't really know, this was, and I looked it up earlier, I want to say 17-time champions of the J League.
Really?
I mean, dude, put some.
I knew they're top flight, but I didn't know 17 times.
Dude, they are. This is, I mean, dude, we got to put some respect on these guys because I know people are probably looking at this saying Ultra HD. Why is my cable TV, why am I representing my cable company right now at the FIFA Club World Cup? Dude, we got to put some respect on these teams. These teams earned their way there. They deserved it. Even Auckland City, I couldn't even name you a player in Auckland City, but still, it's mad respect to these guys. I agree with Group E with your analogy, dude. I think Inter Milan, you got me all confused. Inter Milan is going to do well, obviously, assuming Lautaro and Thurman and, the big guns show up.
DiMarco,
yeah, exactly. Bastoni, assuming that the whole gang shows up and they're really going to go for it, then yeah, I think it'll be an easy, pretty group, a toss up for Inter Milan. But I agree with you, dude. It's going to be a fun group. Moving on, though, to another fun group, Group F, Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund, Ulsan HD, and Sundown. I can't pronounce that first one. I'm not even going to try, but they are the club from South Africa representing Julian
Malodi. Okay.
Listen, I'll give my quick thoughts.
Sundowns FC.
Hey, I want to hear what you got to honestly say. This is, dude, you want to speak about another group of life? For me, this is a group of life right here. Dortmund obviously has not had the most perfect Champions League campaign. They've looked good. Obviously, they had a tough Real Madrid loss. I mean, and then, on the other hand, they smashed Celtic in one game, I think 7-8-1, crazy. But the thing is, they're having a decent campaign in the Bundesliga. They're playing well. So obviously they're the heavy favorite. But, you look at this, and Fluminense, you would also say is kind of the heavy favorite as well, potentially. I can't lie to you, dude. I think that matchup's going to be interesting. I really think I feel like in a sense, it could be a group of life only if Dortmund underestimate. If Dortmund go in there full steam, say, listen, man, we can't take these teams, for granted. I think it should be a cakewalk, but we'll see. What do you think, though?
I mean, outside of the obvious matchup between Dortmund and Fluminense, that one's interesting to watch. That's going to be fun. But like, this is another one of those groups where I'm like, look, I respect the Korean League. They've also made a lot of progression. This is a South African team, I believe, in the Sundowns. But like, this is going to be Fluminense and Dortmund are just going to. I don't think it's going to be very close, to be honest with you. But I am interested to see the matchup between them and so on and so forth. But yeah, we can move over to Group G. This is another one where I almost kind of feel the same way. I mean, the Moroccan team is going to be a team to look at. I'm kind of interested in.
Come on, man.
Because
put some respect on Al Ain and put some respect on Wydad.
Why that Asar? Why that AC? I know I'm butchering that.
Put some respect on Wydad, man.
Why that? No, I'm saying that I think they could compete, but I mean, you're also talking about a Manchester City and maybe they could put a fight against Juve because Juve has, they're not the Titans that they once were. But this is another one where it's like same as Group F, where it's like kind of top heavy, and then the bottom is like, look, I do think why that is, I think can compete. I think that's gonna be interesting in that Juve matchup. But in general, like this one, me personally, this is just my feelings. This one doesn't excite me as much. The same thing with like, even if Manchester plays Juve, like I don't know, it just feels like Champions League. Like I don't know, that in general, like it doesn't get me going as much. But what do you think about this?
Dude, listen, I'm going to say it. We got a hater in the chat right now. Guys, y'all know it. Julian's hating on Wydad. Listen, I'm going to put the respect. I think you guys.
I'm not hating on them. I think they're going to compete.
I'm going to be real with you, Julian. It's either.
How many African chips have they won? They've won a lot.
They've won a lot. And the Moroccan League can't even say, dude, they've won a crap ton of that. Them and I want to say Casablanca, if I'm not wrong as well.
Yeah, Casablanca, dude, yeah. They've won a lot.
These teams, dude. And my thing is
Egyptian.
Is not just only the fan bases show up and show out. These teams show up. They feed off of that energy. And when you see that, and it reminds me a lot, this Wydad team, obviously completely different players, completely different roster. But a lot of that Moroccan national team that we saw at the 2022 World Cup, dude, listen, they're going into it and they're going in high. They're going in feeling good. Obviously, this is a Manchester City and Juventus. But here's the other truth, honestly, just to be quite blunt, Julian. What do they have to lose? What does Wydad?
Well, yeah, they're playing with house money because I think if you're Juve,
Yeah.
Juve, you're worried. I genuinely think you're like, dude, we cannot look bad. I think City is just like City's like one of the best teams in the world. I think they're just so far ahead. It's not close. But Juve, if you're a Juve team, yes, you should win.
Yeah.
But you should probably be worried. And you should probably take it serious. But
I agree. That's what I'm saying. Juve should not walk in there, or City. Dude, they should not walk in there and say, let me throw in Oscar Bob, Rico Lewis. Let me get some kids from the under academy and say, you know what? Hey, y'all go have fun out there. Go play Alain. Dude, these are some serious teams. And these teams will show up because they've won their confederation and they've won it in the past. Like you said, I'm not going as far as saying, listen, we odds going to win the whole Club World Cup. It's set in stone. Obviously not. But I agree with you, dude, that if these teams take it serious, yes, it could be bad. It could end up turning bad. But I'm going to put the respect, and I just feel like these teams can show up. I don't want to call it early, but you know what? Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if City get grouped. That's all I'm going to say. I wouldn't be too shocked. So it'd be crazy. It'd be wild, but we'll see.
I mean, I don't know about that. But then we'll go to our final group. This one is interesting to me. This one I like a lot. I think obviously the talking one is Real Madrid versus Al Hilal.
Yeah.
Al Hilal.
Neymar versus Mbappe.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I guess Neymar, I know he's going to Santos, but I guess he's still on contract with Al Hilal. But I don't know how that's. I mean, on TV they said Neymar was going to play.
They said he was going to be there. Yeah,
I don't know if that was a mistake or not, but that's going to be interesting. And quite honestly, I think the Salzburg versus Pachuca is going to be pretty fun to watch because obviously Salzburg, a very lowly rated Austrian team that kind of got in because the way the math worked. They got in because it's only a limit of 2 teams per country, and I believe Salzburg was ranked 30 something, and just the way it worked out was just a bunch of teams from the same leagues, so they kind of got in. But hey, it's a good measuring stick. I think it's kind of interesting to see, like, how well maybe the Saudi Al Hilal plays against Salzburg. I mean, ideally, I think they beat them. Pachuca, how well they play against them, because Pachuca is kind of like a development type of team where it's a lot of homegrown players. Obviously, Real Madrid, I think just they walk this group, but I do think the match against Al Hilal is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how well Pachuca does well against them. I don't anticipate they're going to do well, but I do think the bottom 3 in Al Hilal, Pachuca, or Pachuca versus Salzburg, or Salzburg versus Al Hilal, I think those are going to be pretty fun to watch, and I will have those marked down. So, yeah, man, that's kind of what I feel. Give me your final thoughts, and we'll close it out here.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, wrapping it up. Listen, great FIFA Club World Cup. I think Group H is an exciting one. I think, like you said, Al Hilal, Pachuca, and Red Bull Salzburg. I kind of like reiterating what you said, Julian. I think any one of these 3 teams can qualify for the second round. I really do believe so. I think Pachuca, obviously. I think Salomon Rondon. I can't even lie to you. I think he's licking some chops right now.
Like what, 36? Like,
dude. Hey, but but look at what he's doing. Look what he's doing with Venezuela and Pachuca. I mean, the guy's still firing at all cylinders. I think honestly, all 3 of these teams, I think they're all licking their chops, saying we can get through, we can get to that next round, and we can compete, and we can go from there. So I think honestly, the only downside I will say for Al Hilal is the fact that they do play that Real Madrid game first. Obviously, your first game is usually one of your best games at any tournament, regardless who you play. So I think the fact that they play Real Madrid first, it's a little bit of a kicker for them. Obviously they're probably going to lose that game, assuming more than likely. But dude, like you said, I mean, assuming Neymar comes back and he's healthy, I mean, Alexander Mitrovic, Ruben Neves. I mean, you've got Bone.
They got a squad. I mean, granted, they're older, they got a squad. But you got a squad.
Yeah, they got a squad, and they got a couple guys. And dude, that's another thing. These guys have competed in Champions League before.
Let them juice, man. They'll let them juice. Get a little testosterone. Feel like they're 22 again.
Maybe, man. Well, hey, and their fans are hype, man. I know their fans are going to be popping out for these games. So, but yeah, it's exciting, man. We'll see.
That's it. And if you guys made it to the end of this video, if you haven't done so already, please like and comment and subscribe. And also, if you want to listen on audio platforms, go check out our new Spotify profile linked down below. Please go leave that a rating review. It is a brand new profile that we've created separate from the regular Real Fans podcast. So please go check that out, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.